Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello students, welcome to Swayam Prabha, channel 15. The course title is Human Resource Management and the lecture title is Performance Appraisal. This is module 11, lecture 1. I am Dr. Soma Singh Gupta, Associate Professor Commerce, Kamla Nehru College, University of Delhi. In this lecture, we will cover the following topics: concept of performance appraisal, nature and objectives, performance appraisal process, problems of performance appraisal, essentials of sound performance appraisal, methods of performance appraisal, and potential appraisal. We will discuss methods of performance appraisal and potential appraisal in our next module. In this module, we will cover all the other topics. Concept of performance appraisal. Performance appraisal is the evaluation of the performance of a person in simple terms. In fact, the performance of the employee in the organization. Like the students are appraised by the teachers, the behavior of children is appraised by the parents, and accordingly marks are given by the teachers to the students. Likewise, some incentives are given by the parents to the children for good behavior. In the same manner, in the organization, employees' performance has to be evaluated so as to find out whether they are able to meet the targets or not, and accordingly to decide the increase in salaries to be given to them, or promotions to be given to them, or any kind of incentives to be given to them, and as well as to find out if they have any scope for further development. Likewise, we can also find out whether they are falling behind the targets or not, and whether some training and development activities has to be arranged for such type of employees. So it is basically evaluating the performance of the employees to find out whether they are meeting the goals or not, or they are falling short of the goals or targets during a particular period of time. So one definition by Edwin B. Flippo. Performance appraisal is the systematic, periodic, and an impartial rating of an employee's excellence in matters pertaining to his present job and his potential for a better job. So what he has said, that it is systematic, periodic, and impartial rating, first of all, about employee's performance or excellence in his present job, as well as his potential for further growth or development. So performance evaluation or performance appraisal is the process of assessing the performance and progress of an employee or of a group of employees on a given job and his potential for future development. Performance appraisal is also known as performance evaluation, performance or merit valuation, progress or merit rating. So these are the other names of performance appraisal. Now, performance appraisal is a kind of not only an evaluation process or appraisal process, but it is also a control technique. So to control the performance of the employees, whether they are able to meet the standards or not, or whatever expectations are there, whether they are meeting it or not. So that's why we can call it as a control technique as well. So in the steps of performance appraisal are quite similar to that of any control process. So the first is setting standards of work, assessing the employee's actual performance relative to these standards, providing feedback to the employees, motivating the person to maintain performance or improve performance or rectify performance deficiencies. Nature or characteristics of performance appraisal. We have seen from the definition certain characteristic or nature which is embedded in this definition, which was given by Edwin B. Flippo. So first of all, it is a process, and whenever we call it a process, it consists of a few steps. So series of steps are there. Then it is systematic. Examination of strengths and weaknesses of the employees, and in detail evaluating their performance. So it is a systematic process. Scientific or objective study. So we want that whatever method we are using, it should be valid and reliable. So valid and reliable method is used to evaluate the performance of employees objectively, minimizing subjectivity and biases. Then another feature is it is continuous or ongoing. So evaluation is held periodically. So year after year, every year or in every 6 months, you will evaluate the performance of the employees. So it is not a one-time phenomena. Then it is purposeful. In order to know the performance about the employees for making different kinds of decisions, like increments to be given, promotions to be given, or any training and development needs are there, or in fact even if you find that the employee is not suitable for the organization, so you may chuck him out also, but that should not be, that should be the last resort. But in any case, all these purposes are solved by performance appraisal. Objectives or uses of performance appraisal. So there are many objectives which are served by performance appraisal, or performance appraisal has many objectives, and each of these objectives is serving some purpose also. So first is to provide feedback to employees. Now, when you are working hard in a particular class in which you are studying, you would like to know how you performed vis-a-vis other students or in the class, and for that you want that there should be a test to check the performance of all the students, to find out who has done better or what are the shortcomings. So to provide all the, likewise in organization, the employees would like to know how they have performed. So to provide feedback to employees, so they come to know where they stand, and they can improve their performance as well. Then to provide a database. So you need data in the organization which is used for different kind of personal decisions, like placement decisions, promotion and transfer decision, pay increments and punishment decisions, and so on. To identify the training and development needs in the organization, by diagnosing the strengths, weaknesses, and performance, you can find out whether there is a requirement of further training and development. To develop a superior subordinate relation also, performance appraisal is helpful. To facilitate research in personnel management, again you need some data which is provided by performance appraisal. Then another objective is to provide coaching and counseling to improve the performance of the employees, for their career planning, motivating the subordinates. For all these purposes, you can have a coaching and counseling session on the basis of the results of the performance appraisal. To test the effectiveness of other HR processes, like whether you have done recruitment and selection, placement, induction program, everything in the right manner or not, it is giving you the benefits or not, or the employees you have selected, they are not serving the purpose, or there is a wrong placement. All these things can be found out through performance appraisal. To set and measure goals to generate superior performance. But performance appraisal ensures that every member of the organization sets and achieves the goals effectively. To support manpower planning, performance appraisal helps in assessing the talent that is available in the organization and their need for the future. So whether such type of talent is there in the organization, how they can be utilized in future, that can also be found out. How many people are there who can be promoted, all these decisions can be taken on the basis of performance appraisal. Another objective is to improve the performance of employees and increase their future potential. So it is not only historical in nature, but it is also future oriented, because we are trying to find out the potential of the employees and giving them the appropriate platform for their fullest development. So providing feedback and improve communication, understanding training needs, clarifying roles and responsibilities, motivating superior performance, determining reward allocation. So these are all the steps in the direction of improving the performance of the employees. Then right sizing or downsizing decisions can also be taken on the basis of performance appraisal. When economic realities force an organization to downsize, performance appraisal helps to make sure that the most talented individuals are retained in the organization, and to identify poor performers who cannot be improved, whose performance cannot be improved, who should be laid off, especially during downsizing decisions. Other objectives are to provide legal defense against accusations of discriminations while taking personnel decisions. Because somebody can say that you are biased, but the performance appraisal report results, which, if conducted objectively by a group of appraisers or raters, can actually be used as an evidence that everything was done objectively without any personal bias. So in decisions like termination, denial of promotion, transfer to another department, the organization will have the performance appraisal report to justify their decisions. To determine compensation changes, pay for performance is possible through performance appraisal, as it provides the mechanism to make sure that those who do better work receive more pay. So it is like you are rewarding those people who are performing well. But how can you do that? On the basis of performance appraisal report. To improve organizational performance as a whole, you want that the performance of the organization should improve. For that, there should be some control mechanism, some evaluation process, so that the employees are on toes, that they will work hard, and it will act as a motivator also. It will be acting as a target also. So everyone becomes clear about expectations and his performance, and this result in an improvement in their performance and organizational success. The process of performance appraisal. The process of performance appraisal is quite similar to the process of control, like establishing standards, measuring the actual performance, comparing the performance with the standards, finding out the deviation, and taking the corrective action. Some more steps are there in performance appraisal, but in nutshell, it is also a control technique and follows those steps. So the first step of performance appraisal is set the objectives of performance appraisal. So why you want to have a performance appraisal at all in the organization? So establishing the goals to be achieved is to be clear. There can be two types of goals, like appraisal of actual performance or present job, or appraisal of potential for higher jobs. Now, next step is preparations for performance appraisal program. So before you start the program, you have to make certain preparations, like, or you have to find answers to some questions. Who will do the appraisal? So you have to find out who will be the rater and all, how frequently it is to be done, and the time period of appraisal, setting the budget, because it is a key issue. Performance appraisal needs some money also. It is quite an expensive phenomena, time consuming also. So for that, a budget is required. Training of appraisers, like whoever will be the raters or appraisers, they have to be trained first in applying a particular technique, or how they will appraise the performance of the employees. Selecting the employees to be appraised. So who will be the group of employees who will be appraised for a particular period of time, that has to be selected. And deciding the criteria and technique or method of appraisal. There are so many methods, you cannot apply all of them, but whatever method is suitable for your organization, that has to be selected and decided. The third step of the process of performance appraisal is establishing performance standards. That is the criteria to is set with the help of job analysis data. We have discussed in job analysis that job analysis is, in most of the cases, it is the first step of any other HR function. So here also, on the basis of job analysis data, you will set the targets or performance standards. Now, these performance standards should be clear, objective, and in writing so that every employee understands it, the raters can understand it. Clear cut criteria, both quantitative, like measurable in units if it can be done, and or qualitative, like for managerial people, their work cannot be quantified, so qualitative standards can be there, like honesty, teamwork, learning ability, sense of responsibility. These can be different criteria. Now all these can be should be discussed with the supervisor and indicated in the appraisal form also. So the supervisor should be discussed. So his opinions and views should be taken, as well as he should know what the criteria are, as well as the employee should themselves, whose performance is evaluated, should know about the criteria. Then communicating the standards, that is performance standards, should be communicated and explained to the employees what is expected of them. Receive their feedback about the standards. Revise the standards if necessary. Now the next step is measuring performance. Choosing the right technique of measurement of actual performance. As I said, there are different techniques, but you will select the one which is best suitable to evaluate a particular type of people. Then identifying and controlling internal and external factors influencing performance. So sometimes performance may be poor not because of the problem with the employee, but because of the circumstances or because of some external and internal factors. Like if there is electricity failure, then obviously production is not being done. So you cannot evaluate the performance of the employees on the basis of unit produced, because it is not because of his deficiency in performance, but because of electricity failure that he couldn't meet the targets. So you have to control those internal and external factors. Collecting information on results achieved, collecting data on performance in comparable terms. Then the next step is comparing the actual with the standards. So to determine the deviations, like you have to find out whether it is positive or negative. Positive when performance exceeds the standards, and conversely negative when performance fails to meet the standards. Then the next step is discussing the appraisal. So you have appraised it, you have to give the feedback to the employees, you have to find out why their performance is not up to the mark, or you have to give a pat on the back of those who are overachieving, so they also are interested in feedback. So that's why you have to discuss the appraisal with the employees whose performance have been evaluated. So results of appraisal communicated to the employees, reasons for deviations are analyzed and discussed, strengths and weaknesses are made known to the employees. The idea is to improve their performance or maintain a high performance. Next, or the last step, is taking corrective actions. So mutual discussions will take place between employee, evaluator and manager. Steps required to improve the performance are identified and implemented, like training, coaching, counseling, all these will be taken place. So this is the whole process of performance appraisal. Problems in performance appraisal. Now, there are several problems which may occur in the performance appraisal process, and the results might not be totally valid, or the results might not be as we have it is not meeting the objectives of performance appraisal. So whether you are thinking that you are as objective as possible, but there may be some errors because of judgment, because of some psychological phenomena which the appraiser is undergoing, so that will affect or have an impact on the results. So when you are creating and performing performance appraisal process, you have to take care of all these problems. The first one is errors in rating. They can be central tendency, that is assigning average ratings. So this is the problem, like whenever there is an evaluation out of say 10, you have a tendency of giving 5. Or if there is a 5-point scale, it is always that average you are giving. So the middle one. So that is central tendency. Constant error is either you are too lenient, you are giving 10 out of 10 to everybody, or 9, 10, or you are extremely strict and you are giving 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So none of these method is actually measuring the actual capacity of the employee. Then personal bias, like the rater either dislike the person or like him very much, that will have an impact. Spillover effect, that the past performance affects assessment or of the present performance. So something he has done wrong some 3 months back, and you are appraising him now, and you are making sure that you are not going to give him good grades. Then halo effect, rating consistently high or low on the basis of overall impression. So a person is smart, or he dealt with the problem very smartly once upon a time, and you are giving high rating always to him, although he might not be performing well right now. Stereotyping, forming a mental picture of a person on the basis of his age, sex, caste, or religion. Like if you say that that old age people are inefficient, and so I will give a senior executive a less grade, low grade, then it is stereotyping. It is wrong. Or a female employee low rating, then it is stereotyping. You have to measure the actual performance and be very objective in giving the grades. Another problem may be lack of reliability, that is lack of stability or consistency in the measurement. Consistency over time, consistency among raters, both problems can happen. Inconsistent use of measuring standards, lack of training of raters in the appraisal technique, different qualities are not given proper weightage. So all these are problems of reliability. Then incompetence, the raters lacks the knowledge and experience in say particular appraisal technique. He's not been given any training, so he doesn't know how to apply it. Conducting post appraisal interview, he doesn't have the skill to conduct that kind of appraisal interview. That can be considered as an incompetency of the rater. So the other problem can be resistance. Trade unions may resist it as it involves discrimination among its members. You know that trade unions always prefer that there should be there should not be any discrimination on the basis of performance, because they know that if the person is given higher salaries just because of performance, then there will be the strength of the trade union will actually break. So they resist such type of performance appraisal system, and sometimes they see that with suspicion also. Then multiple objectives is another problem. If the raters if the performance appraisal has too many objectives, the raters may get confused due to so many objectives, and in fact the objectives may be unclear to them. Negative approach, like the focus is on punishment rather than the development of the employees. See, performance appraisal is not evaluation of only the evaluation of performance, but it is also about identifying the potential of the employees. So if that is not served, then it is a negative approach. So these are all the problems of performance appraisal. So then what are the essentials of sound performance appraisal? So the first one is clear objectives, clear, specific, relevant, and time, fair, beneficial, not too many, that what we have discussed in the problems. So clear objectives should be there, free from bias. The whole of the phenomena should be free from bias. Evaluators must be objective. Methods of appraisal must be fair and equitable. Atmosphere of confidence and trust should be there. Acceptance or mutual trust should be there. That is, performance standards and appraisal method should be developed with the joint participation of employer and employee. Job related or relevant. This is another essential. Measure behavior that are relevant for the successful performance of the job, and not any other personal biases should be there. Then the performance appraisal method should be reliable or consistent with as well as standardized. Scientific method should be employed. If an employee is evaluated by two different evaluators, then the result should should be significantly same. High reliability ensures correct decision making. So it should be consistent, reliable, and standardized. Then effective. Objectively differentiate between a good employee and an ineffective employee. If your performance appraisal method is not able to find out good performers or bad performers, then it is of no use. Then practical and unambiguous. Practically possible to implement the method, clear and unambiguous, all parties concerned be able to understand its implications. Another essential condition is documentation. It is important to documentize everything. It should be based on some kind of validity. So it will minimize the personal bias. Giving justification for ratings, that is very important, so that nobody can see it with doubt. Then feedback and participation, as we have discussed already, that communicate the ratings. Participation of employees in the evaluation is important. Individual differences should be recognized, like in the organization, in terms of size, nature, needs, type of personnel, environment. So different organizations may have different types of performance appraisal possible. So tailor made the appraisal system to the needs of the organization. So you cannot blindly take up another appraisal method which is used in another organization. Find out what you are trying to measure and accordingly have an appraisal system. And then training of appraisers is very important. Like they should be provided knowledge and skills of conducting an appraisal using a particular technique. Other essentials are like post appraisal interview. So after the appraisal has been conducted, you should arrange for a post appraisal interview with the employee. And this should be having a problem solving approach, and provide them feedback, identify the difficulties faced by them, identify his training needs, provide counseling to them. Then review and appeal. That provision should be always there in the organizations, because some people will be unhappy with the appraisal system. They should they may have some doubts regarding the appraisal. So some provision should be there for a review and appeal. So mechanism for review of rating. A committee consisting of line manager and HR expert analyze whether the rater was unusually lenient or strict, compares ratings with operating results, discusses differences. So this is another committee which will actually appraise the appraiser's job. Then provision for appeal in case the employee is dissatisfied with the rating. So these different provisions, if a performance appraisal it is meeting these conditions, then we can say that it is a sound performance appraisal system. So these are the essentials of sound performance appraisal. So to summarize this lecture or module, we can say that performance appraisal is the systematic, periodic, and an impartial rating of an employee's excellence in matters pertaining to his present job and his potential for future or better job. These appraisals are used to determine who needs what training and who will be promoted, demoted, retained, or fired. The process of performance appraisal begins with fixing objectives of such appraisal and concludes with using appraisal data for appropriate purposes. The appraisal suffers from problems like errors of rating, lack of reliability, incompetency of raters, and resistance of employees. A sound performance appraisal system should have a clear objective, standardized, free from biases, done by trained raters, and post appraisal interview should be conducted, and a provision for review and appeal should be there. So for references, you can go for Flippo's book or DeSenzo's book, and for your exam purposes, you can go for CB Gupta also. So with this we come to the end of the first module. So this was performance appraisal module 11 lecture 1.